You remember 2010, and I remember how simply I was dumbfounded by the news of giving and starting issues about the mind-boggling power of 8,000 horsepower. This figure then seemed some kind of fabulous, if you want, ephemeral. Why am I saying all this? You asked the issue about a completely different car. And to the fact that back in 1990 a year, one German atelier overcame the bar of 8,000 horsepower, giving birth to just such a fantastic breeze. The name of this work of engineering emerged from the hummock of competence, evolution. Just try to realize this, because it's only 1990 years old. Cars with 300 horsepower seem to ordinary motorists. Hitler is powerful. One of my favorite film actresses is just 14 years old. The Soviet Union is showing signs of life, but it is only just coming out to the world to remember everything. Nice atmosphere. And under it you just lie for 8,000. Strong tests of Russia on the autobahn at a speed of 370 km per hour sounds really fabulous, but all this is the real truth for a modest $595,000. You got a real dream car, which was able to break on the road any car of the time and almost any of today's greats of money. Now it will be called that way. I took 50 on strong ceramics as a basis, tried my own 12. By the way, at the time it was very fast. The supercar is capable of reaching speeds of under 290 km per hour on the highway and changing the first 100 in as much as 0.7 of a second. But even this was not enough for a master from Germany, and in order to survive 8,000 horsepower from 5 years of a new motor, finally, electronics, engineers had to work hard. The engine received new overtime forged pistons designed to withstand gigantic loads. The compression ratio of the power unit has been reduced in relation to 7.5 of a unit, plus the earned heads of the block have also been applied. Finally, the most important thing in 12 received a double turbine of its own design, creating a pressure of 1.4 of a point. Before hitting the heart of the engine, the hot air was enjoyed through a couple of interviews with air-to-air couriers that were mounted on the rear fenders of the car. But that is not all. Especially for a qualified engine, an electronic search for fuel was applied, while a standard one, through hummocks of contentment, caresses the supporters of natural specifics. They used their proprietary exhaust system, and the result of the work on the engine is admirable, and in 2015, the return has grown from 81 horsepower. 8,000 horsepower is declared, and the moment from 480 meters has risen to thousands of meters at thousands of revolutions per minute. Before such a result, the characteristics of all the great Kirkers of the time faded. He had moments of 566 meters in Berlin, an Apple with 92 horses, and moments of 580 meters. And the fast sports car inside the Sport of Vanyushin had only 240 meters. The Germans got to the box. The standard 5-speed gearbox of the Rose certificate received different gears, precise numbers, reinforced gears, and a clutch designed for the hellish increased power dynamics. 8,000 strong repertoire, and from year to year can rightfully be called devilish, and the size of the first 100 took as much as 0.4 of a second. The step property of the tire and the rear one did not allow to leave 3 seconds, and its second 100 swayed after 9.8 seconds after the start. And a quarter of a mile from a place this hellish chariot managed to overcome in 10 seconds exactly. And, finally, on a long straight section, a slender one could develop through hummocks, and 370 km per hour or 103 meters per second in general. There is not a single memory car from those years that could go so fast. The same 959 Sport covered a quarter mile in 11. As much as 0.8 of a second. I was able to change to the second 100 in 13.3 of a second and walked a quarter mile in 12.3 of a second, and the legendary February 40 in 11.8 seconds. Now, for a second, imagine what emotions the owner of a car feels in a year flying along an open highway at a speed of 400 km per hour and listening to a fresh view of America's thousand. It was possible, and imagine God. The suspension received stiffer springs and shock absorbers, as well as enhanced stabilization. Seated Kirkorov helped perforated brake discs with a diameter of 355 mm in front and rear. Passport Solanka received rich leather trim. Gorgeous, for example, luxury version with a red interior between two chairs with 4 precise belts and lecturer adjustment. A joystick was located on the central tunnel, through which the driver could regulate the pressure of the turbine, and the value was in horsepower. The very center console was a large digital onboard computer, and outlandish at the time. Outwardly competent Venusian from standard Hummocks could be distinguished by the pocket of the main Nikita front bumper with an argued rear anti-wing of a style in 40, of course, a built headlight body at the buyer's choice. There were also 3 variants of discs without diameters 17, 18, 19. In addition, a disc option and new loans are still offered. But if you liked this video, like it and subscribe to my channel.